What did the weird kid do in your school that you will never forget? We were sat in English class, and some kid answered a question, so we all turned to look at him as he answered pretty normal. Kid was rather quickly upstaged by the weird kid next to him pulling a full-cooked chicken leg out of his jacket pocket, no wrapping or packaging, and just started eating it. He did not wear shoes. College in upstate New York with mounds of snow during the winter. He still did not wear shoes. Girl was wearing a thong in freshman year. Weird kid behind her got really horny and started jacking it. He would also get upset if someone else fed the class fish. Willie was not weird, but being a fourth grader and bringing an entire gallon of Arizona tea every day for lunch was interesting to say the least. He sat at one end of the yard and tied his shoelaces together. He then proceeded to stand, walk and fall all the way to the other side. He was falling on purpose too, and he did not say a word to anybody. At the end, he untied his shoes and continued to do whatever. This girl Maggie would find someone new to latch on to every month or so. When she found someone she wanted to befriend, she would do crazy, over-the-top shit in an attempt to impress them. At one point, she was obsessed with a girl we will call Kat. One day, Kat brought in a baggie of celery and was dipping it in a sauce cup of peanut butter. Maggie would not stop staring and basically watched Kat consume every last piece of celery. Sure enough, the very next day, Maggie comes into class with, I kid you not, like 6 bunches of celery stalks, and a family-sized tub of peanut butter. She just eats it all day, with the biggest smile on her face, all while staring at Kat from across the room. This is a lighter example of the many off-the-wall things Maggie has done for her transient idol of the month, but the endless bushels of celery is just something I will never forget. He would walk around on his tiptoes like a T-Rex and then make dinosaur noises and hiss at people. Walked around the halls saying penis 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 or alternatively something that rhymed with it, such as smoke marijuanas. Smoke marijuanas. Ate chewed gum off the floor. Called everyone he did not like a squid. He never got picked on because if anybody pushed him or anything like that, he would scream at the top of his lungs. I knew this kid who smelled terrible. He had walk in a room and this disgusting stench would follow him, like some sort of cloud of garbage scented air. If you were in class with him it would permeate the entire room. Anyway, one time one of the teachers found a toenail in his locker. He had some sort of fungal infection on his feet and one of his nails fell off, which he then proceeded to take and save so he could send it to a family member. Quite possibly the most disgusting and weird event I have ever witnessed. Wanted to freak out the substitute teacher, so in the middle of class, he began screaming while attempting to staple his hand to the desk. After a bit of blood and a whole lot of screams, I did say he succeeded in his mission. We had a kid who jerked off in class multiple times in middle school and the school decided to ban all girls from wearing mini skirts because of it. The letter my parents got in the mail about it was ducking hilarious. Also, it did not help, and he eventually was suspended for 10 days. No one really knows what happened to him. He pulled his pants all the way down to go to the toilet. Also, one day his underwear were in the playground somehow. We had an assignment one time to create a presentation about what we wanted to do when we graduate high school. This kid in my class did an entire presentation on how his aspirations were to work at McDonald's whilst living in the Sumter eating the thrown-out Happy Meals. It was really well put together. The kid was really smart, just also really ducking weird too. Ran around the halls like Naruto and shit but weighed over 250 pounds, so he was a freight train if you got in the way. I was not there when it happened. I had changed schools, but I keep in touch with my old friends. The weird kid, also a friend of mine, had gone up to the popular kids table and told them he had a surprise for them tomorrow. So of course they think he is going to shoot up the school. They have a lockdown, evacuates his class, and an officer goes in to talk to him. Turns out he bought some donuts for the popular kids to try and make friends with them. One kid in the 3rd grade brought a tiny saw from home and slowly carved through the plastic shelf part of his desk. No one noticed until he sawed through almost half of his desk. He also had shotgun shells and rotten food in his desk too. Instead of walking, the weird kid in my school chose to army crawl from class to class for all of high school. Apparently he thought he was the main character from Metal Gear Solid. We had called him the Ha-Ha Man. I cannot even remember his real name anymore, but he used to follow my friends and I around the playground. And he was a year or two younger than I was. Once he started to creep us out and we tried to ignore him. He started yelling, "If you do not get back here, I am going to grab your ha-ha." I will never forget how he would say it, and this went on for over a year. Regularly put a lighter to his hair in the computer labs to make the teachers think a computer was on fire. I suspect they knew what was happening but had to take the necessary precautions like call the fire brigade. When the same kid was about 13-14, he was bullying some girl. The girl's older brother, about 18, confronted him about it. The bully put the guy in hospital. He topped all of that by killing a suspected pedophile with a paving slab though. Weird indeed. Kid I went to school with was a nice kid, but weird. Definitely had some form of special needs, but I never knew what exactly. I will never forget the day I watched him walking down the hall with a Twix wrapper across his eyes, like he was wearing a Cyclops X-Men visor. I asked him why he would do that. His response was, "Well, I can see through it." So I wanted to see through it. Yes, it was translucent enough to see through. I felt so bad for this kid. He was bullied badly. The kids at school were awful to him. One day at lunch, I watched a giantess walk up to him after just sitting down with his lunch, grabbed the kid's backpack and also his Game Boy from the table, which was like the only nice thing the kid owned, threw it straight in the trash, and then dumped the freshly bought lunch right on top of it. God, that makes me mad just now thinking back on it. On top of the constant bullying he received from the kids, the teachers had a hard time dealing with him. They did try, but it was tough when the kid comes out of left field with things and had zero home support, and everyone knew his mom did not give a shit about him, would not take him to doctor's appointments, would not get him his meds, would not do laundry for him or help him with basic hygiene. She ran a salon and told him to sit in the corner and not bother her. He would ask for things like water or a snack, and she would just yell at him, in front of clients, which is why everyone knew all this. To be honest, I was seriously afraid of him getting a gun and shooting up the school. My city was a hair's width away from being in the woods, lots of camo and country music, so it would have been not too hard for him to get a gun somehow. I was actually planning based on his schedule escape plans, and what I would say if I encountered him on a rampage. One day he knocks on my door, tells me he is moving down south to live with his dad, and he seems really excited, thanks me for being his friend, and wished me well. Then, a couple years later, he was visiting the area again, knocks on my door, and says hi, asks how I am doing, tells me he was thinking about me. He tells me things were much better, that he was happy living with his dad, and things were better. If I were a betting man, I did bet that his dad actually got him proper meds, and acted like a half-decent parent to the kid. I hope things are going well for you, Josh. I hope that you got it together, because you always deserved better than pretty much everyone in town gave you. Got up in the middle of math class with no prompting, filled his hands with sanitizer, and clapped them, spraying it everywhere and screaming there is cum everywhere. Nobody was even talking, he just thought it would be cool. We had a kid in 6th grade, let us call him Tim. Tim was constantly getting in trouble for not listening to the teacher. One day Tim and the teacher got into an argument. The teacher told Tim to step out of the classroom and wait in the hall so they could talk. On his way out, Tim slammed the door extremely hard, with the echo bellowing throughout the entire school. The teacher then told Tim to go to the office, and he closed the door, only for Tim to start running and kicking the door over and over again. The teacher walked up to the door and locked it for our safety, then grabbed his phone to call the office. We could not see anything Tim was doing in the hall because the door was one of those ones with only a tiny window to see through. So what the teacher said on the phone caught us all off guard. "Hello, yeah, One of my students was misbehaving, so I sent him to the office and he began kicking door. Now he is currently pacing around in circles outside the door with his belt in one hand and a boomerang in the other. There was this guy everyone called Big Andy. He was kind of nuts. I mean, like, the most caustic neckbeardy guy you have ever met in your life. I was kind of one of a few people that figured he was mostly harmless, but dude was that militant nerd variety that made it kind of hard to defend him. Threatened to bash people's faces in, blow stuff up. I mean, he had some serious issues. Reason people picked on him was that he was about 300+ pounds. In high school, constantly wore anime t-shirts that were about 2 sizes too small, jean shorts, and carried a box of donuts around. No, seriously, a box. He also had a really high-pitched squeaky voice. I mean, all of that, and people are assholes. He had it in his head he had go become a computer programmer, start a video game company, and land a helicopter on the roof of the school during our reunion. His words. I always wondered what happened to him. I do not know of him ever having any friends, and he dropped off the face of the planet after we graduated. Looked him up a few months ago on Facebook, and just could not find him, so no clue whatever happened to the guy. One kid in my freshman speech class was extremely socially awkward, so this was already just a perfect setting for disaster. We had to give a 1-minute speech the second day of class off the top of our head about some of the things we like and present an item or two that symbolizes your passions and interests. He goes up there, pulls out a pack of juicy fruit and just holds it up, pauses for a second, then said, "This is juicy fruit, my favorite gum. If you do not like juicy fruit then you can screw off." Then went back and sat down. Everyone paused for a second, looked around and just bust out laughing. It wasn't for a grade or anything, so I am pretty sure the teacher just did not care cause it was so funny. Would not stop asking us to join his investment club or become a writer for his investment website. Well, 4 years later that website got bought out for $2 million. Fast forward to today, he has got his own firm and parties with like models every weekend. We had this one kid who was a bit of an oddball, always said the most obscure things in the middle of class, and overall kinda reminded me of Dwight from The Office. Anyways, we were in gym class playing kickball indoors cause it was raining and he was on me and my friend Esteem. His turn came up, bases loaded with a pretty close game and class was about to end. We were all just watching in anticipation as the pitch came. Mid-roll he turns around and looks directly at us and gives the most confident ass smirk I have ever seen. Turns back around, runs up and kicks the ball. Now, we had a pretty decent-sized gym area and at the top were all these metal beams for support. A couple of them were giant I-beam type things. So anyways, he kicks the ball and it goes flying up 40 feet and hits all these beams and somehow lands perfectly on the edge of one of the I-beams that could only have been the length of the ball itself. The guy ran the bases like it was business as usual and me and my friends died laughing, convinced that he knew that he would do that. The ball stayed up there the rest of the school year. There was this weird kid named Gavin who sat in the front row of my nutrition class. One day, he was not in class. He never missed class, so as the teacher is doing attendance she asks, "Where's Gavin?" Just as she says this, everyone looks outside to see Gavin throw his backpack down a couple flights of stairs, jump down the stairs, and begin beating his backpack with a baseball bat. The teacher silently walked over and closed the blinds as the entire class burst out in laughter. Had to be one of the most hilarious moments in my high school experience. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.